And I built my sawbuck with double X frames so I could cut between them and the wood would stay in the sawbuck and not fall on the ground, thereby saving my back. Good concept, but the frames are too close together. The saw runs into them. I even cut a couple off, and worse, I ran into nails. The problem with X frames is unless you have a very long chainsaw, the top has to be so small it won't hold much wood. A rectangular frame would hold twice as much, so that's what I'd do. Nobody starts out old, but it doesn't take long to get there. All things come to an end, just not yet. First thing I needed was numbers. I didn't make a plan on paper, I did it in my head. The drawback to not having a plan on paper is when you go back to review it, it's not always what you started out with. I would use fir 2x4s from the marsh logs I cut. Much of that lumber is good, but some of it is marginal at best. I picked the 2x4s that were not good enough for any permanent project. I laid them out on the table that I made from the crate my sawmill came in, marked them, and cut them. The 2x4s would last longer than the 1x4s I used in the first sawbuck. I'd put them farther apart so my inaccurate chainsaw manipulation would not cut into them, and I made sure I didn't have nails where I could hit them. Much of this project is tedious repetition, so we'll speed through it. After I nailed together the first double frame, I picked up the chainsaw to make sure I had the dimensions correct. Uh-oh, chainsaw bar is supposed to span the entire gap. That's what I get for not writing things down. I made it the width of a 2x4 too wide. Glad I checked after the first one instead of after the last one. The two end frames would not be doubles, but singles. I should have cut this apart and made it the two singles rather than trying to keep it together, but that would have been the smart thing to do. At first I thought I had a rock in my boot. Couldn't figure out how it got there. The nail was short and close to the edge and didn't draw blood. I'm very careful to pick up nails from the ground, but I only have to miss one. Check the saw again. It's just right. I double-checked the new measurement and committed it to memory. One double frame complete, 4 to go. Now all I have to do is get it out of here without breaking my neck. Problem with stepping away from a project for a day or two, at least for me, This doesn't go this way. This goes flat here, tying the two together. So, 2 steps forward, 1 back. Or maybe the other way around. Well, they're all done with a little bit of leftovers because I calculated incorrectly, of course. So what we have here is 5 double frames, 3, 4, and 5. 2 end frames. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 doubles in the middle. Don't need doubles on the end. I could have cut up the old sawbuck and burned it and then collected the nails with a magnet, but I thought I could use some of this wood again, and I hate wasting things. I was surprised at how much sawdust had built up around the base of these frames. I shoveled away sawdust, pitched it over the side of the hill, tried to level the ground a little bit. I'm out of practice for pick and shovel work. It gets warm fast. I've been tripping over the redwood stump, the smaller of the 2 redwoods I cut down to make room for this operation. I took this opportunity to dig around it so I could cut it off below ground level. I want to get as much dirt out of that stump as possible to save wear and tear on my chainsaw. And while I'm at it, I might as well get rid of this other stump that's in the way. Takes care of that. Also takes care of that. The starter cord on my chainsaw and the one on my generator are made of the same material, and both of them failed on the same day. I was surprised at how heavy this small stump is till I realized it's still growing and the open end has been exposed to rain all winter. I'll set it aside for now and deal with it later. Should make at least 2 very nice bowls on the lathe. Rather than try to get the ground flat and level to set the sawbuck on, I sacrificed a couple of the marginal 2x4s from the marsh logs. It slopes a little bit downhill, so make that 3 2x4s from the marsh logs. Here's where some of the wood from the old sawbuck comes in handy. I mark out 16-inch centers for the frames. I tacked the brace onto the end frame to make sure it doesn't fall down. And nail the doubled 2x4 together to make sure it stays together. The doubled frames stand unsupported. I need a brace for the other end frame. Should have thought of that sooner. Before I nail the frames down, I have to get them in line. That is much easier to do with a straight edge rather than trying to do it by eye. The frames cover up my pencil marks, so I stretch the tape to get them centered. I'm sure you've heard of the domino effect. This isn't cabinet making. The distances don't have to be precise, so I'll just measure from frame to frame rather than the full length. All I need to do now is nail it all together. I thought I got rid of that already. What I'm doing is just starting a nail at each position, and I'll come back and drive them home. That finishes one side, except for the end frame. I've been tripping over all these fir stumps for months now. Got to figure out a place to put them. out with the old, in with the new. Disadvantage of not planning these projects on paper. If it's just a simple throw it together project, I don't bother. Make it up as I go along, and you can see the penalty I pay for that. These horizontal stringers were an afterthought, just to get it level. I did not make them parallel, nor did I put them close enough together that these posts would rest on them. Down there they do, but not back here. That means the weight of everything is going to be on a couple of nails. So I will put some more blocks under, looks like the first 3 of these on this side, and 1, 2, maybe all of them over here. Need to get some horizontal bracing to keep these more or less vertical, and then some angle bracing so that the whole thing doesn't rock when I throw wood up on it. But I've got plenty of wood for that. Leftover stuff from the old one. I just assumed I would be cutting from the other side, the way I did with the old sawbuck. And I thought about it, I realized I want to cut from this side so the sawdust is on the downhill side and not in the driveway. I ended up doing that anyway, but I could have done it much better. I put this horizontal brace low enough that the chainsaw wouldn't hit it, completely forgetting that the chainsaw doesn't reach through far enough to hit it, no matter what height I put it at. I could have put it higher, but it's a good thing I didn't, because then it would have been in the way for, I was going to say the ultimate plan, but it wasn't a plan, is out of the way here because I end up sawing from this side of the sawbuck. This angle brace doesn't have much mechanical advantage because it's almost parallel to the horizontal brace. Well, right away I noticed something I could have done different right there. If I'm going to saw from that side, saw bar does not extend beyond this. I could have put this up anyway. But I really should be sawing from this side to do sawdust down here. Leave that one there. The other one high. And saw from this side. And there's that problem. It's over halfway down. We've got one of these. I thought it was curved in, but all these are straight. It's not curved in. It's just nailed ½ inch too far that way. So I will unnail it, bend it out, and re-nail it. You can see the quality of those raunchier marsh logs that I milled into 2x4s. Didn't even have to cut these ends off. They broke nicely. Pretty much straightened out down here. A couple things I would have done differently. From the cutting side, I would have turned these flat side so I could get another 2 inches of space here and still get my chainsaw to cut all the way across. That's okay. This one not going to last 1,000 years. I'll probably be making another one someday. And when I do, I'll draw it up first. I put it together according to a plan. But right now, I'm going to go inside and have a beer. Well, this is finished. At least I'm finished making a project of it. I'll shovel out some of the sawdust after I move these, after I figure out a place to put them. Got some ankle braces on each end, made from parts of the old Sawbuck. Put a brace up high. On this side, I'm not going to cut from that side. I'm going to cut from over here, and the saw does not reach that side. Braced up under the feet that were hanging in space, which is all of them on this other side. But I'm calling this done. You'll see it in action next time I'm out here at the sawmill, which won't be too long. I have an order to fill. If you wait 5 seconds, you can see it in use right now. And that is that.